Hi everybody, welcome to a brand new series which is going to be looking at models related to the Napoleonic Wars. And we're going to start off with a British Fusilier and a British Sergeant.
And they're going to look smart in red coats and pipe cleans. So,
now these are Lego compatible models from the brand which is on the screen at the moment. So to begin with, the torso's printing is beautiful. It's an accurate design of quite a generic line infantryman of the time. Regiments at the time would have had their own specific facings. Things like the colour of the cuffs and the buttons and the spacing of the buttons of the lace were all things that would help to distinguish a regiment. The fictional South Essex from Sharp wore yellow facings, but depending on which regiment it was, they would have been different colours. The closest reference I can find for this guy is the 70th, potentially, from the black collar and cuffs. Very good as a generic one as well, though, at this point. On the back of the figure, there's a water canteen, a couple of pouches, along with a continuous crossbelt, which also goes along the sides, which is a really nice touch. The legs feature white breeches or pantaloons and black gaiters or boots, depends how you interpret it. This is fine and once again matches our mind's vision of a soldier of the period. However, trousers were being worn more on campaign the later we go into the Napoleonic Wars, with grey trousers becoming common. This is a swap that those wishing to use these models might want to consider if they were representing the Peninsular War or the Waterloo campaign. The white legwear, though, does have some creasing and weathering designed into it, so it's not lacking in detail, and again, it really does capture the essence of what we would expect, I suppose, from a soldier of this period. The shako is a stovepipe shako, and this was introduced in 1800, so it's perfect for the majority of the Napoleonic Wars. But it's worth bearing in mind that it had largely been phased out for line infantry by the start of the Waterloo campaign, except for the 28th, who were still wearing it. The Belgic shako was introduced in 1812 and obviously took a little while to roll out to the troops on the front line. The only thing that I'd be inclined to alter about the Fusilier is the plume. The white plume indicates a grenadier, whereas the red and white plume of the sergeant would be suitable for a line regiment. If you're happy with a company of grenadiers, or not a picky person, then just be happy and carry on. But if you do want to represent a centre company, then you might need to invest in some sergeants, or hope that the brand bring out some plume multi-packs, or you could dab your plumes in some paint and hope nobody's watching. Another interesting thought, though, is to create a light infantry company. Usually, the light infantry would have the bugle on their shako, the same as the 95th Rifles. So, realistically, you would have to steal their shako to make this work. But if you wanted a rough and ready 95th Rifles, a bit like if they were in a Sharp episode, then you could always get away with doing that. Or if you happen to be investing in the Italian light infantry, they come with a pom-pom, but also a plume on the sprue in green. If you weren't too bothered about having the bugle, maybe you were looking for just an overall effect of light infantry, then you could always use the plume from the Italian light infantry to give your British light infantry the green plume. So, to move on to the sergeant then, this model uses the same shako and torso piece from the standard British Fusilier, but features white epaulettes, a red and white plume, sergeant stripes on the right arm, a red sash on the legs, and a spontoon. The sergeant stripes are a fantastic addition to that standard Fusilier variant, and are well printed onto the right arm. However, the epaulettes do obscure the stripes slightly. I think the epaulets are to represent shoulder pads of a sergeant. They aren't perfect at doing this, admittedly, but they do serve as an easy visual distinction to the standard Fusilier. The spontoon, meanwhile, is an excellent design. The spontoon was used by sergeants to protect the colours in battle, which was of course incredibly important, as losing the colours was deemed unforgivable. The bar across the middle ensured that the pike didn't go too far in if they were impaling somebody. This wasn't an act of mercy to those that were being stabbed, but was instead to ensure that the pike didn't become lodged in the victim and could be pulled free more easily so they could continue to protect the colours. Now, the pistol is interesting. It's an amazingly detailed upgrade on the standard Lego flintlock pistol, and I'm not sure if anyone will complain about having one added to their collection at such a cheap price. But I'm yet to find a reference to sergeants carrying them. A sword would have been much more fitting, but I'm sure we can all find a use for this extra weapon. The left arm doesn't feature stripes, but it does have a printed ruffle on the red sleeve. Pleasingly, the legs feature a sash, which helps add another level of differentiation to the Fusiliers. So all in all, with these models, the Fusilier and the Sergeant, I do think they're really good models, and I think they're an excellent way to build up an army of red-coated Napoleonic soldiers, which is pretty accurate to the time. I've popped some links in the description. For the Fusiliers, you might want to buy a pack of 12, you might want to buy a pack of 20, you might want to buy a pack of 50 even. So I've popped some links down there. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you'll come back for future videos on this topic. See you soon.
Quack, 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 quack.